Don't focus on happiness. It's too transient. Focus on fulfillment.
It doesn't matter what you look at, it matters what you choose to see.
I take pride in my willingness to stare at my inadequacies, my willingness to improve my inadequacies, and my willingness to sincerely pursue grand goals.
Need motivation? Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tom Bilyeu, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, become extraordinary.
What I've said was, I don't have natural talent in anything. So as a kid, it was really doing things that I got positive feedback from somebody. So my dad once told me that he thought that I was better behind the camera than I was in front of it. And so for a lot of years, I actually did think that I was good at that. And then I got slapped around in film school and realized that I didn't have any natural talent. That was an utterly heartbreaking moment. And that was me then having to come to accept that I am, like everyone, I was born hopelessly average. And my life has become a mission of seeing what are the things that I care enough about to become extraordinary, and then putting in the time and energy and effort to actually become extraordinary at that thing. And I am utterly astonished at the breadth of things that you can become good at if you're willing to invest the time and energy. So my thing is, don't limit yourself to what you think you have a natural inclination towards. Limit yourself to what makes you feel more alive. So it starts with an interest. Ooh, that is cool, I'm interested. Then by engagement, it turns into a fascination. Through the gaining of mastery, it becomes a real passion. Like, that's the spectrum of things you want to deal with. Not like, am I good at it? Am I not good at it? For instance, I'm terrible at math, and yet that was one of the things that I had to get better at. I'm still terrible at high level math, but like functional math, I got a lot better at. That was really useful in business. I certainly have I have no natural aptitude in that direction. So, but that's what my goals demanded. One day, I will be over this cough. So that's the key, is what are your goals demanding of you? And move in that direction, put the energy in, break it down, practice it, actually take the time to get good. And that's where you're gonna see that you start to believe in yourself. And I think that self-belief, it exists on 2 planes. Plane number 1 is just, I choose to believe I can learn anything. And so that's gonna give you the willingness to move forward, because humans lead with belief. And the only belief you need to move forward is that you can learn. And then the second part is confidence comes from competence. So actually getting good at something. I don't think there's anything more intoxicating for a human being than to get good at something. To not have been good at it one day and then get good at it the next is just one of the most amazing feelings that any human being can have. So I invite you all to go on that journey.
Rule number 2, pursue honorable goals.
I have a very hard and fast rule that I use when it comes to this idea of self-punishment. Now, self-punishment can be very useful, but not when it gets to the point where it is diminishing your sense of self, like what I see here. When you can't even let yourself believe that you are worthy of improving, getting better, and accomplishing things, we're now officially in what I'll call a death spiral. So the rule that I put in my life is very simple, and it allowed me to let myself off the hook for things that I had done in the past. And it goes like this. Every human being should only ever do and believe that which moves them towards their goal. Now, their goals should be both exciting and honorable, meaning it should be exciting for you, but it should also not just serve you, but it should also serve other people. So no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, pursuing a goal that is honorable, that uplifts other people, why on earth would you not want yourself to do that? So if we can agree that everybody should be pursuing goals that are honorable, and everybody should only allow themselves to do and believe the things that propel them down that path to actually achieving that goal, now it's not about you, It's just about common sense for human society, for us as the human animal to get the most out of this experience and to contribute the most. Then we have to put ourselves in a frame of mind that propels us down that path. There were so many times in my life where I really believed that I was stupid, or I believed that I was unworthy, or I believed I needed to be punished for something that I had done. And I would get in these loops of like, oh man, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to achieve this. And why am I even bothering? And I realized that even though I would ultimately get past it and be like, look, just do it, I would waste so much time in this beating myself up cycle. So I created that rule that I was only going to do and believe that which moved me towards my goals. So now it's like, am I good enough to do this? Am I worthy enough to do this? Do I deserve to have something positive happen in my life? And the answer is, I'm going to believe that, yes, I am good enough to pull this off. Yes, I am worthy of doing something like this for two reasons. One, I'm only pursuing things that are honorable in the first place. And two, such is the nature of the human animal and the human experience that we should all be getting ourselves in a mental frame of reference that propels us forward. And so I just let myself off the hook that even if I deserved to be punished, it wasn't going to move me towards my goal. It wasn't going to help me contribute to myself, which, by the way, nobody should feel bad about contributing to themselves, but it really wasn't going to help me contribute to other people. And as long as I felt good about the things that I was trying to do and create, it just made sense to let myself off the hook so that I could take the actions that I needed to take in order to help, in order to contribute, in order to thrive.
Rule number 3, ache for success.
This is one of those things you will only get from your life what you need. What is an aching, burning must-have in your life? Those are the only things that you're going to get. And guys, every time I talk to somebody that is dissatisfied with their life, it is because they do not have a crushing need, something that they must make come true in their life. Do you want to know why the studio is going to work? Because I think about this so obsessively. I have no need to be right. I need the right answer. And because I need this to be successful so badly, my ego is the out of the way because I just need to know what is actually going to work. So I am voraciously seeking out people that have better answers than me, that might know more about it than me. Like when you're there, when you're in that position, then you're capable of the extraordinary because you will get the hell out of your own way. So to put it nice and succinctly, it is the only thing that is real. Unless it is an aching need for you, you're not going to be successful, not at the level that I'm talking about. You've got to find a way to turn it into a need. You've got to. And that's why the darkness, the sickness is so powerful. That's why the bat in Batman is such an incredible metaphor of being unwilling to tolerate anything but success.
Rule number 4, focus on fulfillment.
Here's the thing about happiness. Happiness is by nature transient. Happiness is also a neurochemical state. And for me to get out from under my brain, I finally had to understand that neurochemistry is fickle and it changes from 1 minute to the next. In fact, who's ever had a day, in the same day, where you thought, I'm so amazing? Like, this is crazy. For real, are other people this good at anything? Like, I'm the shit. And then, I'm not joking, 40 minutes later, you're like, oh, man, I am spastic. I can't believe it. I'm never gonna succeed. Like, this is a joke. I'm a total piece of shit. Who's ever been there? All right, that's essentially universal hands in the air. So just know the next time that you have one of those down moments, remember, everybody else is feeling that. The joke is on all of us. We're all feeling it, but we think we're the only ones, so we hide it. So we get in these loops about happiness. Look, happiness comes and goes. It's super transient. You're gonna feel it 1 minute, you're not gonna feel it the next. That is the nature of things. Burn that notion into your head. That is the nature of things. All right, well, if I know that it's there, if I know that it's predictable, then I'm not gonna let it whip me into a frenzy. I know that, as I'm sure Mr. Jay Shetty would say, this too shall pass. Learn that phrase and learn it well. This too shall pass. The highs will pass. The lows will pass. So don't focus on happiness. It's too transient. Focus on fulfillment. Fulfillment is defined very simply. You work very hard for a set of skills that have meaning to you. You care about them in and of themselves. And those skills that you have worked so hard to obtain, they allow you to serve not only yourself, but others. That's the key to making this highly social animal fulfilled and to have something that sustains over time. Fulfillment is born of suffering. It's born of doing the hard things. So even in those dark moments, you can see beauty. You can experience the joy of being alive. You can experience the joy of having loved ones because it endures. Fulfillment endures. Now, you're not going to feel the neurochemical high of it all the time. But when you look inward and ask yourself, am I busting my ass to serve not only myself but others? If the answer is yes, it's really hard to keep feeling badly about yourself. Focus on fulfillment, and you will make yourself impervious to the sways that is happiness.
All right, what is up, everybody? I want to talk to you about my good friend Evan Carmichael's book right here, Built to Serve. I'm actually going to read you a section. There are some amazing parts of this book, and this is one of my favorite. It's under the title, Comfort is the Enemy of Greatness. And it goes, when you're comfortable, you don't get strong. When you have plenty of fresh air and no adversity, you crumble as soon as something gets hard. It's rarely the kids of rich parents who go on to do great things, even though they have all the advantages that money, connections, and education can buy. Why is that? Because they're too comfortable. People who are comfortable don't create great things. There it is. Evan Carmichael bringing the heat in his book, Built to Serve. Get a copy.
Rule number 5, hold yourself to high standards.
I want to make a very clear delineation between being optimistic, being positive, and having low standards. What you just told me is that you're both positive and optimistic, and you have low standards. So that is a deadly combination because you're gonna feel good, it's all possible, oh, we f***ed up, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, that means you might be happy, and that's awesome, but if you want fulfillment, which is far deeper and longer lasting than happiness, then I think you need to click over into holding yourself to a higher standard, really becoming capable of something that makes you proud, becoming capable of something that serves other people, to be a benefit to the community, to your tribe, all of that. Like, that's where life gets profoundly interesting and where you feel a deep connection and a deep sense of well-being, which transcends any momentary happiness. So that would be my thing. Hold yourself to a high standard. And my thing, look, you gotta want something. You've gotta want something. This is like a big frustration in my life. I find that most people, A, don't even want anything that badly, and B, they really haven't taken the time to turn that want into an absolute crushing need. Now, that is a fan the flames process. I already went through that earlier in the episode, so I won't do that again. And here's the reality, and this was summed up by Ray Dalio. I cannot believe I blanked on that name for a second. Ray Dalio in his book Principles, he said, I don't know if the way that I've gone after my life was such tenacity and high standards and going for broke. I don't know if that was better than somebody who optimizes for a stress-free, low-key life. I don't know which is better. I just know that that was the only way I could have lived my life. And that is exactly how I feel. I don't think the way that I go about things is better. I just know that it's true to who I am and who I want to be. And for that reason, it fills me with excitement. It fills me with joy when I'm going all out, when I'm going from broke, even when I have to embody rage to get people to wake up, to snap out of it, to keep going, to see where we need to go, or even if it's just aimed at myself. Even when I'm embodying rage, there is a part of my brain that is absolutely intoxicated by the thrill of the pursuit of greatness. The pursuit of greatness is one of the primary drivers in my life. So that's something that I want for you guys, not necessarily to have that in your life. I just want you to want something as badly as I want greatness, because it's fun. It's fun to want something and to pursue it like that. So whatever that is, even if it's just tranquility, to pursue it with everything, to give yourself over to it completely. I cannot recommend that highly enough.
Rule number 6, keep trying.
I went from scrounging in my couch cushions to find enough change to put gas in my car, to helping build this technology company. I was hired as a copywriter and I worked my way up. I became a multi-millionaire inside that company on paper, and I was miserable. Miserable. And I thought, this is a joke. I'm living the cliche of money can't buy happiness. What the how many people had to say it and I still didn't believe it? Like, how many people literally have to tell you money is not going to give you the thing that you want? I've had every opportunity up here to be like, yeah, get rich. That shit is cool as hell. And here's the thing, people will chase money forever. Why? Because it's real. Money is real. Money is powerful. But money's not at all what you think it is. You think when it comes to success, like getting there, making it, achieving it, the way that you see somebody that's achieved it now, however you define that, and you look at them and you think, oh my God, they're amazing. You think you're gonna think the same thing about yourself, and you won't. And I had the very good fortune, my wealth came all at once. I built a company, I had tons of equity in the company, I was worth hundreds of millions of dollars on paper, but I was still driving a beat up car and my life was whatever, I was in a normal house, I was making a good salary, no need to feel sorry for me, but in terms of like the wealth moment, it literally came in an instant. It was, all right guys, the money's been wired, and you hit refresh on your bank account. Refresh, 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 and then bam, you're crazy rich. And it's like commas and zeros, and you're like, holy shit. I don't feel any differently about myself. And all of my insecurities, all the things that I beat myself up for, all of it, still right here. It literally didn't change anything. I could buy neater stuff, but the only thing, like if you want to know what money really does, money lets you build. I'm building impact theory. I'm going to win. Because I have the intensity and I have the capital. That's money. But money doesn't touch who you are. So my thing is, I may go broke building impact theory. That is a reality. Because I know the struggle's guaranteed, the success isn't. So it's very possible, I'm betting my fortune right now on building this thing. Maybe it doesn't work. But that won't touch how I feel about myself. Losing the money won't touch how I feel about myself any more than making the money couldn't touch how I felt about myself. Because you either do the internal work of like, I know who I am. The thing that you'll resent isn't whether or not you make it. The thing that you'll resent is, now that you know you can, will you actually try? Trying is what you're gonna judge yourself on. Hey, don't cheer on that. That is scary. That's the one I want you guys to think about today. Because none of you, your family won't weep for you if you don't succeed. Two things will happen on your deathbed if you failed. You really went for something and you failed. One, they will all mourn that you weren't able to live your life because you were so myopically focused on the goal that you forgot to enjoy the journey, and somewhere along the way you stopped loving. You stopped loving them, you stopped loving yourself, because all you could see was succeeding, getting that thing, the tick on the paper box, and you lost your way. That's possibility number one. Possibility number two is they're like, hey, this tried, and it was inspiring. And just to see them go day after day after day in the face of so much defeat, but to have the will and determination to keep going. Winston Churchill said, and I quote, success is going from failure to failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. It doesn't matter if you win, that's not success. The success is going from the failure to the failure to the failure and still being excited to show up. It's like, this is how I liken success. Success is like love. You know the beautiful part about love? Getting the shit kicked out of you and then coming back for more. That's so hopeful. That's so optimistic. To be like, whoa, I just had my ass handed to me, and yet I want to be vulnerable again. I want to go through this again. I want to open myself up to this. I want to be touched by that. I want to feel that. People can get behind that, man. We can get excited about that. We want to be friends with people like that. We want to feel that in our own lives, that willingness to have tasted defeat and still come in open and not jaded. How beautiful is that?
Rule number 7, be open-minded.
My personality is very aggressive, and so you take my personality, which is already aggressive. I say things very emphatically when I believe them, by the way. And then you couple that with the fact that I pay people's salary, and all of a sudden people tend not to say the hard things. And so what we're doing now, Principles by Ray Dalio literally rocked my world to the very foundation. And we are going to be implementing a version of that here at Impact Theory. And that requires people to come out of their shells. Now, I have to do a very good job of making sure that the people understand, and this is the answer to your question, you have to do a very good job of making sure that people understand that you really want that feedback, that you're not going to slap them around for giving it to you, that you really want to get better, that you value their insights, but that you also have to understand that not everybody's believable in everything that they're going to tell you. So creating the environment where you're spending the most time getting the answers, the no bullshit answers from people that you actually think have valuable feedback to provide you is very, very important. But never negating somebody that's not necessarily high in the believability score, but has a very sound set of logic that they're using to break your personality down or whatever. So that's really, really important. And it starts with showing a willingness to receive that feedback, to not be punitive, to not get passive aggressive. You really have to open your mind to that.
Rule number 8, choose what you want to see.
Thinking about all those negative things is effective, then we're going to do it. If letting those negative things go and looking at the more optimistic side of what could become what we could build works, then we're going to ignore it. We're going to move forward. Now, the reality is both of those things are true. You want to look at where things went wrong. You want to assess what the problem was that caused for that mistake to happen in the first place, for the betrayal or whatever may have occurred. Now, the key is when you look at this and say, there are bad people in the world, there are people that want to do me harm, then you've taken a neutral incident. This person, just to make it extreme, this person betrayed me. Okay, as Shakespeare says, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You've made a value judgment on that. Now, one way you could say is, people are bad. Like as a default, it is so easy to go to the negative side, to cheat on somebody, to take what you can get, to take advantage of the situation, that people are looking to lure me into a sense of trust, and then they're going to abuse that trust. And it's just the nature of people. Well, the reality is that does exist in human nature. Like we know that humans can be incredibly selfish, but whatever you look for, you're going to find. So I want to introduce you to this idea of it doesn't matter what you look at, it matters what you see. And I'll push that even farther and say, it doesn't matter what you look at, it matters what you choose to see.
Rule number 9, be confident to start over.
I always tell myself that I will figure it out. I will pivot. I will go in whatever direction I need to. I am so confident in my ability to rebuild, to start over, to accept defeat, the willingness to be embarrassed, knowing that in that defeat, in that failure, I will learn something, I will grow, and on a long enough timeline, I will win because I'm collecting all of these nuggets of wisdom, the pain and the suffering of failing, and I'm building myself into a wiser, stronger version of myself that's more capable and more able to execute. And because I don't build any of my pride around my success, I build all of my pride around my pursuit, that gets very easy. And I just want people to understand that about me. I take pride in my willingness to stare at my inadequacies, my willingness to improve my inadequacies, and my willingness to sincerely pursue grand goals. Those are the things that I'm proud of. Those are that's the kind of person that I want to become. So it isn't about the money. So if I lost the money, it is what it is. It would suck, don't get me wrong, I'm not nonchalant about it, but because it's so powerful and what it facilitates, but it wouldn't damage my sense of self. And that's the important part, because I don't allow my sense of self to be tied up in that.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be willing to pay the price.
It is absolutely limitless what you can accomplish. Now think about that. If that's really true, if what I just said is true, that human potential is limitless, then how you spend your time becomes a spiritual consideration. So when you guys part from here, one, stay in touch with each other, because you're gonna need that. Because if you're gonna start pushing the limits, if you're gonna show how much somebody in your position can influence other people's lives, if you're going to show people the power of what you do, if you're going to show people the depths to which you can touch another human's life, if you've seen the look on somebody's face who has been transformed by what you've done by them, to see them transform their vision of themselves and to watch them before your eyes go from believing that they can't do something to realizing that they can, that they have untapped stores of potential. That moment is so beautiful, I would say you should be willing to pay any price. So go out and do it.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through on your goals. 35%! That's not enough! That's not enough just to get motivated. Believe Nation, we're here, you're here. Today matters, you're an action taker. When you commit to a plan of action of when and how you're gonna follow through, when you write it down, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to somebody else, it jumps to 95% chance. From 30-something% to 95% chance of you following through. Believe Nation, we need to make this happen. So question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action specific for the next week. Put it down in the comments below, and I'm gonna show on screen sometime next week to celebrate you.
Can you believe it's something like by year 3, so let's say they're a doctor for 30 years. By year 3, they get as good as they're ever going to get. And that the intervening 27 years don't make them any better. That freaks me out. That really freaks me out. And it freaks me out because doing something over and 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 over does not make you better. Intentionally setting out and saying, I'm not very good at this, and so I want to get better at this particular thing. How do I go about it? And then finding some metric by which to judge yourself. So that's the key.
Lauren Cisco, Connect Inbox. I've heard you talk about using bright lines in your life. What are your bright lines that you live by daily? How did you incorporate those lines into your life? Did you just decide one day, or just do it, or was there some trial and error? So first of all, bright lines are lines you just don't cross for whatever reason. It's something that is that important to you that you're not going to cross that line. So the bright lines that I have in my life are, I'll just go through sort of by moment. So the first one is that I get out of bed in 10 minutes or less. So I have a real problem. I don't know what it is with morning people. I am not a morning person. I absolutely hate mornings. I find it very difficult to get out of bed. So whatever the chemical is that your brain clears up, that wakes you up, mine is really slow at clearing that. So left to my own devices, I would lay in bed for a very, very, very long time. Now what's fascinating is, I guess technically I am left to my own devices, but left to my natural inclinations is probably a better way to say that. I would lay there for a very long time. It's a very famous story of mine at this point that when I was living in London, I would lay in bed for hours, 3-4 hours at a time because I didn't want to get out of bed. So I had to put, excuse me, I can't get rid of this cough. I put a bright line in that I get out of bed in 10 minutes or less. All right, next one. I won't say that it's a bright line that I go to the gym, so that would probably be a little unfair, although that's a one of the first things that I make sure that I do if I'm crunched for time. So I'll drop other things, like believe it or not, I'll drop meditation long before I would drop working out, partly because I hate it, and so I put it very high, but that isn't a bright line in true honest fashion. I never eat my breakfast before 7 a.m. That is a bright line. Now, like today, I woke up at 3:40 in the morning. just woke up, got out of bed. So by 7, I was hungry, but I didn't actually end up eating until about 8:30. But I have a bright line that I don't eat under any circumstances before 7 a.m. I don't eat before I feed my children, who are dogs, but I don't eat before them. That's a big thing for me psychologically. So that's my next one. And then the amount that I eat is also a bright line. So the amount that I eat for an entire day is always pre-planned ahead of time. I know exactly what that's going to be, because if I don't do that, then I get fat. So that is another one of my bright lines. Those are really my only bright lines. I have other things that are like incredibly important. Although I will say that I have a bright line around, and this is sort of hard to pin down to a time, but I have a bright line around if I'm awake Monday through Friday. If I'm awake, I'm either working or working out. So those are my bright lines. There's some other stuff that, God, is more like belief system identity stuff, but those are like the bright lines. I wouldn't say that I got to them by trial and error. I would say that I got to them by knowing what I need a bright line around. So with food, for instance, very easy for me to overeat. It's very easy for me to slip in calories without really paying attention. If I were to eat when I was hungry, I would basically be eating all the time.
Here is how I actually have experienced the world. So passions are created. They are not innate. It's not something that's born within you. I've walked people through how I developed my passion for film before. I've walked people how I developed my passion for the body and helping people with nutrition. So I won't belabor that point now, but just know that it is something that you create. It starts with an area of interest. You engage with that interest. It either gets more interesting to you, which I'll call a fascination, or it doesn't. If it doesn't, move on to something else. Find another area of interest, engage with it, and see if it grows an interest. And the easiest way to understand that is, as you engage with it, as you spend more time with it, is it giving you more energy than it takes? So if it gives you more energy and you feel alive and you look forward to it and you want to do it, that's a very good sign that this is something that's leading towards a real fascination. Now, in the book So Good They Can't Ignore You, Cal Newport really differentiates between the classical view of a passion, which is like, I was born with it and I'm on fire and it's just naturally amazing, and what I think is actually a passion, which is the act of gaining mastery takes a deep fascination and turns it into a passion. But I think, like love is a reciprocal relationship, and you're not actually in love if there's no reciprocity. I don't think you actually have a passion unless you're gaining mastery in it and you're able to alter the world in some way through that, whether it's a musical creation, whether it's becoming an incredible teacher and you know that you're impacting people's lives. Whatever it is, your skill set actually allows you to serve other people. And that emotional resonance of going, wow, I worked really hard for this skill set. I am actually good at this thing. And being good at this thing actually allows me to manifest that in some way that is tangible in the real world.
So movies have, I think in movies, they've always just spoken to me maybe more than most. And the movie The Matrix came out March 31st, 1999, just had its anniversary, its 19-year anniversary. And I remember going to a preview screening of that movie because I'm a comic nerd and I was at a comic convention, they were handing out tickets. And when they're walking in to the opening scene basically, and the agents show up and the cop goes, "Don't worry, we can handle one little girl." And Agent Smith goes, "No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead." And then they cut to Trinity. She jumps into the air, freezes. In that theater that I saw that in, everyone screamed in unison and started clapping. Now, I had never experienced something like that ever in a movie before. The spontaneous eruption of the entire audience in the middle of something that wasn't like a scream or a yell. It was like celebratory. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. And then ultimately, as the movie plays out, it's a movie about belief. And it was coming at a time in my life where the only thing I believed was that I was a talentless hack and that I had no idea how to make my life come true. So seeing this metaphor for belief, and that what Neo really has to figure out is that he's the one. And that first, for him to finally come to believe in himself enough that he is the one, someone has to tell him he's not the one. And so he's got to go on that whole journey, and he's got to try the impossible, and he's got to be willing to face failure. And the fact that it works is because nobody was ever before him willing to face the failure. And so because he's willing to face the failure, and if you remember the movie, he fails, he dies, but it's only in remembering, wait a second, these are just rules, and I can break the rules, that he then comes back and realizes once he understands the rules, once he believes in himself enough, then he can do all this incredible stuff. Now, I don't think we actually live in the Matrix, and if we do, I don't think that it really matters. But as a metaphor, I think it's the perfect metaphor for the human experience, because what you believe about yourself will entirely dictate what you do with your life.
There isn't a better way to live your life. There's no right way and wrong way. There is only the way that gives you more energy. There is only the way that gives you fulfillment. When you have those things, when you're fulfilled by what you're doing and it's giving you, the harder you pursue it, it's giving you more energy, you're on the right path. As the Greeks would say, segolodromo, I can't believe I messed that up. Segolodromo, which means you're on a good road. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, yes, I preach a very specific path, but I don't think that it is a universal path. And so the only universal path is to do the things that give you fulfillment and energy. So if spending time with your friends gives you that, then you should be spending more time with your friends. If dating gives you that, then you should be dating. So you don't need to want to be the best in the world at something. You don't need to want to make a lot of money. You don't need to want to be an entrepreneur. They're literally just stand-ins. They're proxies for fulfillment and energy creation. That's it. So those are the punchlines of what's the meaning of life and all of that stuff. It is to do something that makes you feel a deep sense of well-being, which I'll call fulfillment, and something that gives you energy, where you're literally excited to attack the day. There's no obligation to work hard, smart, and long hours. Do whatever you want. At the end of the day, this is all about neurochemistry. It's about feeling good about who you are. It's about loving your life. It's about fulfillment. It's really just enjoying this one chance that you get at this life. And so if when I say work hard, long, and smart, that doesn't feel right to you and you don't want to do that, by all means, don't do that. My whole thing is, if you want to be the best, if you want to play on a world stage, if you want to outperform, if you want to get extraordinary results, the reality is, if you already know how to work hard and smart, then the last variable is long hours. Now, if you find that you're working so many hours that you click into the point where it's now working backwards, then you found the breaking point. So you'll notice I prioritize sleep. So I make sure I get all the sleep that I need, because I know to perform optimally, I have to do that. So if you've got some breaking point where it's not fun and you want to go take a break and you can tell that your learning is slowing down, cool, then you know that's the time to take a break. I'm never bashful about taking time off when I need it, because I know how hard I play. I leave it all out on the field every day. And because of that, when I need a break, I'll fucking take a break. Do you, like, whatever feels right, whatever feels amazing, that's what you should be doing. So my work hard, work smart, work long hours is all about that thing that I value. Not everybody has to value that.
As Shakespeare noted, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Mm-hmm. There's nothing good or bad, right? There's just stimulus and then there's response.
Things happen and they're given a meaning.
But people think that it is objectively a certain way. So now, because they think it is objectively a certain way, they feel they are supposed to react based on those emotions that are getting kicked up in their mind. What I'm saying is absolutely not. Those emotions may not serve you. They're certainly not aimed at moving you towards your goal. Their job is to keep you alive, plain and simple. So that's not necessarily very helpful in a modern context. So if you want to always be moving towards your goal, you want to be optimizing, you got to learn to get control of your emotions. You've got to learn to understand to tell yourself a narrative that isn't predicated on necessarily identifying what is objectively true, because I don't think that we experience the world that way. It's identifying what's going to work to get me to my goal. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, like, my whole thing is goal first, everything else works backwards from that.
Do you have advice on creating a better future without a college education? Yes. So here's the answer, Crystal. You're going to, as of right now, this moment, you're going to focus entirely on one thing. Getting so good you cannot be ignored. Now, what do I mean by that? Getting so good that you deliver results for yourself, deliver results for other people. I would just tell you, every business owner on the planet is looking for people that can help them grow their business. That's it. They care about one thing and one thing only. Can you deliver results? So the good news here is, you can always count on humans to be selfish. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, they're passionate about the things that they're passionate about. They're trying to accomplish the things they're trying to accomplish. And if you can show how you can help with that, people are going to want you no matter what. I don't give a shit if you have a college education. Like, that is so irrelevant to me. A college education merely tells me that you've been formally trained. It doesn't tell me if you're actually good. Now, on a resume, it can be very powerful, because I'll look at that in a shorthand. I'll say, oh, Like, they probably are ahead of somebody that doesn't have those things. But if you're out in the real world getting results, I'm all for that. And let me tell you how fast you can convey that with something. Like, if I'm like right now, hey everybody, by the way, PS, if you're a director of marketing, we want to hear from you, especially if you understand content marketing. So I think most people in this community know that Jared has moved up to San Jose. I don't do remote employees. He's chasing his own thing. That guy was amazing. And I'm super heartbroken that he left. But now we're looking for somebody to replace him with. And what I look for is I look for people that have, I actually don't even look at their college education. I don't even scan that far down in the resume. I just want to know, what are you doing? What have you accomplished? And like, can you put together a what is the word I'm having a stroke. Comprehensive isn't the word, but I'm going to stick with it. Cohesive. There we go. Can you put together a cohesive, coherent resume, which you'd be shocked how few people actually can. So put that together, maybe a super brief cover letter, maybe you hit the person up on social, whatever. Anyway, it is really easy. If you're actually good, it's really easy to convince other people that you're actually good. So focus all your time and energy on actually getting good. How do I get over my block of I am never good enough, especially when my significant other has high expectations but does not support me in reaching those expectations? Okay, so we have two issues. So first of all, getting over your block of I'm not good enough. For me, the thing that absolutely destroyed all of that is my unflagging belief in one simple thing. I can learn anything. So I may not be good at that thing now. I may really not be good enough. Like when I think about building a studio to rival Disney, I'm not good enough yet. There's a huge chasm in skill set between me and Bob Iger and being able to do that. I fully understand that. And I have to do something different, which is found this create all the energy, whereas Bob Iger came in they'd been in business for like 75 years or something by the time he came along. So it is a really intriguing skill set to be able to both build and create something, scale it, and then run it once it's big. So I know full well that I am not yet the person that I need to be in order to do that. And so my time and energy is spent in building that skill set. So I don't freak out over the fact that I'm not good enough. That's very easy for me to admit. I instead spend my time thinking about how do I acquire those skills in order to actually become good enough. So don't let your self-worth be tied up in that notion of good enough. Humans are the ultimate adaptation machine. From that, I derive my sort of high-level sense of worth that, hey, every human being has worth because they're an ultimate adaptation machine and they can become anything they want. That's just really cool and amazing. And then also, I just am deeply compassionate for the human condition. So, yeah, regardless of where people fall on that path of actually executing against that potential, I get it, man. Being a human is both beautiful, amazing, all this potential, and it's really hard. So have compassion for yourself, which I think is incredibly important, and know that this is hard. And then believe that you can become anything that you set your mind to. And then just be honest with yourself. You don't have to want to be the greatest in the world. So whether you let somebody else apply those high standards to you or not is completely your choice. Just remember, it's a choice. And you're not great because you can't be. You're not great because you haven't applied yourself to that. So that is the key. For me, like understanding that my life is an exact reflection of my choices is entirely liberating. So remember, your life is an exact reflection of your choices. If you want a different result, you simply need to make a different choice.
A fixed mindset, somebody that has a fixed mindset believes that their talent and intelligence are fixed traits. That whatever you're born with, that's it. That's as good as you're ever gonna be. And so, hey, make the most of it. Somebody that has a growth mindset realizes that that's just your starting off point. And while we may not all be equal from where our starting off point is, the human animal is literally designed from the ground up to be able to adapt. And so it begins to be a question of how much are you willing to adapt? What price are you willing to pay to get great at something?
What if you're happy with your job, but you don't like the place it's in? I'm so hell-bent, like I know what I want to do with my life. It is so clear to me that I just wouldn't let anything stop me. And that's why I left Tacoma. I love Tacoma. I was not unhappy in Tacoma at all. Like people always think I left for the weather or whatever. I didn't even think about the weather as a kid. It was just all I knew. I left because I wanted to be in a bigger city that had more opportunity, and that was it. And so I was moving towards something. And I think that there are two things that motivate people: moving away from something. So, oh, I don't want that to happen. I don't want, take longevity. I don't want to die. That's moving away from something. I want to live forever. That's moving towards something. So living forever for me is about all the things that I could do and all that. So I'm moving towards that. I'm not moving away from a fear of death. So that here, like, the only perspective I can give you is that if I ever had a sense of like, I can't go as far as I want to go in this place, I would be gone in a heartbeat.
As Franz Kafka said, you are free. That is why you are lost. Look around you. There are no guardrails on your life. The reality is that people have tried to paint a picture for you that says that there are certain things that are right. They've tried to paint a world for you that has a path well laid for it, for you to follow. Go to school, get good grades, get a degree, get a job, retire. That's the plan that everybody wants you to believe is really the plan. But the reality is that you are free to choose anything you want. The reality is that you can go in any path you want. The reality is that path is an illusion. The truth of life is you can go anywhere you want. You can be anything that you want. You can become anyone you want to become. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. At the end of the day, you get to construct yourself. You get to decide what it is that you want to believe, as long as you're not violating the laws of physics. Even physics is a game of maybe. Even physics is uncertain and unknown. At the end of the day, everything that you get to do, you get to choose, you get to create, you get to build something that you want to be. And in that, that's where people get lost. They don't understand that the control is theirs. They're lost because they think there's a path. They think there's a way forward. And emotionally, it doesn't resonate. Emotionally, they're unable to make it feel real because it doesn't feel real. They feel lost. They're unsure. They don't know where to go or who to become or even who they are. And that sense of being lost comes from the freedom of being able to choose anything you want. But no one told you that you could choose. But as Tupac Shakur said, reality is wrong. Dreams are for real. It's the dream that you want to focus on. The dream is your ability to construct that path. The dream is you saying, this is the way that I want to walk. The dream is you saying all of this nothingness, all of this mass confusion, all of this probability and uncertainty. I am going to manifest something real and concrete and directional in my life. I choose to be who I am. I choose to be who I become. I choose to build something with my hands, to create something that has never been seen before, to do something that people have never done before, to believe in things that other people cannot see. That dream is my reality. That dream is what I'm going to bring into existence. That dream is the thing that I believe in. And in believing in that dream and building that path and finding out and deciding who you want to be.
80% of business is knowing what not to do. That's the really hard part. Most people have no dearth of opportunities, and I think that that has certainly been true in my life. I think that that's certainly true for most people. The real hard part is being in that room with 1,000 doors and knowing which doors to close. So you have to get really good at creating certainty, at being decisive, at being willing to take a step. And when it comes to that, honestly, the thing that I've noticed most is just a willingness. I'm trying to survive the tail end of an illness here. The willingness to make a decision, even when you don't have all the information. That's really where we separate the people that go on to win from the people that just stand still. Because remember, the most data-rich information stream is action. Whether that action is a win or a loss is somewhat irrelevant. The whole point is you have to be moving forward. You have to be acting decisively because that gives you that data-rich information stream. Most people are so terrified to make a mistake. They're so paralyzed by indecision because they don't know which is right that they never make a decision. They never hit that data-rich stream and they don't learn very fast, and so they move 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more slowly than the next person who's willing to act, who's willing to make mistakes, who's not afraid to look stupid. So that's the key. As I'm sure you've heard said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I will modify that and say the only thing that we have to fear is indecision.
Do I need to have a solid idea of the person I am today in order to be the person I want to become? Yes, I think that would be very powerful for you. The ability to accurately self-assess is incredibly powerful. Now, people that have the highest levels of self-delusion also have the highest levels of happiness, which is one of the great ironies of being a human. So this is advanced class shit, but you don't want to spend too much time looking really rawly at where you are and how bad you are at this thing that you're trying to do. But at the same time, you do need to be able to accurately assess where you are. Now, the key that I've found to being able to stare at nakedly your inadequacies is that you have to build your self-esteem around something else. But when your self-esteem is tied around this, it can be pretty gnarly emotionally to spend a lot of time looking at that, which is why people don't do it. But if you build your self-esteem around this little thing here that I'm doing with my fingers, which is the willingness to look at that, to get better, to sincerely apply yourself to getting better, to recognize that the only difference between who you want to be and who you are is a set of skills, and that you can acquire those skills, but first you have to understand where you actually are and where you're trying to go, and then be able to identify that chasm that you have to cross. And if you take your pride, your self-esteem from the willingness to cross that chasm, then suddenly you actually get self-esteem by looking at that, by assessing where you really are. And so that is one of the most powerful things anybody can do. Where should one look to find something to get passionate about? Is this an introspective journey or something more extrinsic? Okay, so it is actually, oddly enough, step one is not introspective. Step one is get out, play, get lost, have fun, try a lot of things, challenge every assumption that you have, get out of your age bracket, hang out with people way outside of how you grew up, a totally different circle. You will be utterly shocked by what ends up being of interest to you. Again, you're not going to stumble on some grand passion, but you're going to stumble on something that's interesting to you. Wow, never even knew this existed. And yet I find myself interested and I want to go down that path. But the only way to do that is to get outside this freakishly small bubble that you have. This is why a lot of people, and I say that because all of us live in a freakishly small bubble. And this is a reason that people often tout travel as a way to really shake up their assumptions about the world, things that they didn't even realize were assumptions, to go and see the way other people live and realize, whoa, like they seem like they're having an amazing time. And yet they do things so dramatically different than the way that I was raised, for instance. So getting out, and even if you can't leave your house, the internet, man, the internet will introduce you to the most eclectic people on the planet. So if you can't afford to travel, get a device with an internet connection and just start searching follow random stuff, enrich your lives. Go down these weird rabbit holes. When a friend invites you to do something super weird, say yes, go try it. That's how you're going to find this stuff. But it isn't turning inward. And I'm a huge believer in, I spend way more than 80% of my time inward, reflecting inward. But that isn't the first step. The first step is encountering. Then you can reflect. So here is the reality about money. So the reason that people chase it, even though I know you've heard 1,000 times, and it is absolutely true, money can't buy happiness. That if you're chasing money, the odds of you ending up with some level of dissatisfaction is incredibly high. But the reason that people ignore that, and the reason that they keep chasing it, and the reason that I myself live the cliche of money can't buy happiness is because money actually does have power. Now, the thing that money lets you do, the thing that gives it that power, the reason that people will chase forever and ever and ever is it is the great facilitator. Now, being the great facilitator does not mean that it gives you the thing that you secretly want in your life. So here's the punchline about happiness. The goal of all of this, the goal of this game of life that we're all playing, it is not money, it is not success, it is entirely brain chemistry. It's entirely how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. It's about being deeply fulfilled. It's about being proud of who you are. Now, those are all, for me, synonyms. It's the same thing, which I'm just going to shorthand to fulfillment. The thing that you're chasing is fulfillment. It's the only thing that doesn't sway with the wind. So happiness, in its typical definition, is very transient. So I want to shift people over to thinking about fulfillment. Fulfillment is often born of suffering. It's born of not doing something you want to do. It's born of doing the hard things. Being proud of yourself comes from that. Being proud of yourself comes from working your ass off to acquire a set of skills that, by the way, in and of themselves, in acquiring it, you found that pleasurable. It's something that you're interested in. You've hopefully crafted, developed, built a deep passion around. And in acquiring those skills, in service of that thing that you love and enjoy, you're able to serve other people. That's it. That's the truth of happiness. That's the truth of the thing that is going to give you that sense of fulfillment, that's going to allow you to enjoy your life. Money is never, ever, ever in and of itself going to do that. Money buys cool shit. Money is able to give you those temporary dopamine rushes of going and shopping for something and getting it, and then it's cool, but then that coolness factor wears off very rapidly. What do you recommend for a person who isn't fulfilled in their position to make sure they don't get caught in a loop of negativity while searching for something else? So to me, this all comes down to what you're rewarding yourself for, what you value in your life. So I value action. So if I knew that I'd gotten myself into a bad situation, and I have something in my eye, if I knew that I'd gotten myself into a bad situation, and rather than sit there and beat myself up over it, I would say, okay, you're in a bad situation. You got yourself here. Nobody would blame but you. And now, instead of beating myself up over the fact that I got myself into that situation, I am simply going to say, only action matters. And so now I'm just going to start taking action to make sure that I'm fixing that woe. And I find, because I so value action, and by the way, I value it because I know where it leads to my desired outcome. It leads to learning, worst case. So taking that action, driving myself forward, pushing myself, that is what I'm going to reward myself emotionally for. So immediately I get this sense of relief from anxiety, from stress, from worry, because first I'm acknowledging how important that is in my life because it yields rewards. And then second, you're really going to get engrossed in it, and you're going to just be lost in the details of actually trying to solve that problem by leveraging your action to get the desired outcome. So those two things I think will serve you very, very well as you go down that process. So just make sure that you really have that emotional buy-in to the importance of action. Sticking with your good habits is extremely hard because they're boring. So whenever something is boring, it's because somebody's pursuing something that they actually don't give a shit about. And that's the problem. So for instance, eating healthy food all the time isn't thrilling in the way that, say, eating a bag of Oreos is, or black licorice, which is a personal favorite of mine, or fried food, which is truly my weakness. That stuff is fun, man. You want to talk about a dopamine cascade? I could take a random Tuesday and make it feel like a Saturday night just by deciding that I'm going to cheat on my diet. Now, I don't do that. I cheat maybe twice a year. So it is, when I say it is crazy rare, and yet my life is full of things that thrill me. And I use that word on purpose. Now, what it comes back to is going back to the whole topic of today, habits, and how you stick with them even when you're bored, even when it's not interesting anymore, long after it stopped being fun. The very secret to habits is caring about the thing that habit is meant to lead to. But for real, like really, what do you care about? And for instance, here is a life I pass no judgment on. Man, because if this is what you want and it like you love it and you're filled with fulfillment, it's amazing, great. If you want to sit at home all day and you want to cut your life to the absolute quick financially so that you're living in a tiny hovel with 5 other people, fine. And you're eating Tina's burritos. I don't even know if they still exist, but when I was way hardcore poor, they were awesome because it was 3 for 99 cents, which was amazing. So I could live off of that, and you're cool. You boil it down to nothing. You don't have a car, no insurance, nothing, and you accept that my life is going to be shorter than it would otherwise be, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke weed a lot, and I'm going to eat bad food a lot. Man, respect. Like if you do it with your eyes wide open and you're loving it and you're having a great time, the only reason that you never hear me talk about that stuff is from my experience, from what I've seen of other people, the only thing that gives the human animal the the best feeling, which is to feel good about yourself when you're by yourself, is to do the hard things and to do things that bring fulfillment. And the things that bring fulfillment are often born of momentary suffering, but they allow you to get stronger in order to serve other people. That's it. That's just what I've seen. So I don't think it's better than the alternative that I just described. It's just the only thing that I've seen really lead to that sense of like deep fulfillment. So my thing about the specific part about the good habits are hard to stick with because they're boring, just you've got to attach habits to things you actually really and truly care about. No one can tell you what to care about. You can certainly build that into your life. You can take something that's an interest and build it into something you care deeply about, which I've talked endlessly about, so I won't go into it here, but that is very, very possible. Associate your habits to that thing. Suddenly the habits will be very easy. Don't judge yourself. Live your life the way you want, but respect the realities of neurochemistry.
I want to dispel a myth for you. It's the talent myth. It's the belief that some people were just born with more than others, that some people are naturally gifted and some aren't, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and whatever you're going to be is essentially determined by how you started, that your DNA is exactly your destiny. I'm here to tell you right now, that's bullshit. It's just not true. It's not the truth of the way that humans are designed. As a species, we're the ultimate adaptation machine. The very thing that puts us at the top of the pyramid is our ability to adapt. It is the fact that the brain is plastic, that it responds to change, it responds to stressors, it responds to repetition. And repetition is a slave to obsession. As Conor McGregor said, there's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. You could be anyone if you put in the time. That's one of the greatest athletes of our time telling you that he's not the result of genetics. He's not the result of natural gifts. He hasn't been bestowed something by God. He has shown up day after day in the most mundane of conditions. On the cold days, on the hot days, he put in the work because he was obsessed with what he could become. And that repetition that you need to actually gain a skill follows that obsession. So in you right now, today, you want to start building that obsession. You want to look at it like an ember that can become a raging fire, but it needs your time and attention. It needs your time and attention. You've got to take that interest. You've got to take that spark of desire and you've got to fan the flames. You've got to turn it into that obsession. And from that obsession, if you put in the work, if you do the things day in and day out, the back-breaking work, pushing through the pain, fighting through, feeling like an idiot, fighting through embarrassment, getting up, brushing yourself off, doing it again, practicing, putting yourself at somebody's feet and asking, what could I have done better? Not look at the things you're doing well, but look at the things you're doing wrong. Look at the things you're doing poorly, staring at your inadequacies with no loss of pride. Because the only thing you value in yourself is your willingness to do that, your willingness to work your ass off. And as Sylvester Stallone said, I'm not the richest, smartest, or most talented person in the world, but I succeed because I keep going and going and going. And that's the secret.
Tom, I think my goal may be too big. I write it every day, but it makes me feel heavy, daunted, and terrified to pursue it rather than excited. Okay, that's powerful. Have I chosen my goal poorly or do I need to man up? Okay, dude, Brian, I love you so much for this question. In this question is like everything that people go through. So first of all, your goal is not too big, okay? You're just not yet the person you need to be to execute against that. And that is absolutely fine. I'm not yet the person I need to be in order to rival Disney. I know that. And so every day I'm waking up not saying, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? I'm thinking, what's one really simple thing that I could do right now today to learn something that moves me down that path? Or who can I partner with? You know, what's the idea that I need to get other people excited about what I'm doing? So that's super important. So your dream is never too big. Even if you said you want to terraform Mars, I'm with you, right? That's our boy Elon Musk is literally thinking about that. So your dream isn't too big. You just don't think about like the end goal and let it overwhelm you, which is what is happening to you. You're writing it every day, okay? So you're obsessing about that end goal, that end outcome, which first of all, if that end outcome is about a thing, like the thing that I think about every day is not building a studio to rival Disney, even though that's often what I externalize to people. What I think about internally, the thing that warms my soul, is I think about the people out there that are extraordinary. They could do something amazing with their lives, but they won't because they don't believe in themselves. So what I think about, the thing that drives me, that obsesses me, and fills me with excitement and joy to get good enough to actually do it, is helping people develop an empowering mindset. That's my obsession. The whole rival Disney thing is a path, and I think it's the right path, and I'm excited to do it, and I love it. But at the end of the day, the thing that keeps me going when I'm feeling overwhelmed is helping other people. So figure out what that thing is, that huge goal that you have, why you want it, because chances are that you're going to be able to do it in smaller ways along the way as well. So it's not like this, 20-year chasm of binary nothingness where you're not at all doing what you want to do, and then suddenly one day it either happens or it doesn't, like, winning the lottery. That it's, these incremental steps. Okay, so you write it down every day. Start writing down the beautiful thing that you want to bring into the world. And also, even that, like, you should be spending time, what are you grateful for right now, thinking about what you want to learn, thinking about things that excite you. It makes you feel heavy, daunted, and terrified to pursue it. Okay, so if it makes you feel heavy, daunted, and terrified to pursue it because you're obsessing over the end goal, it's some like traditional marker of success, money, a big company, whatever, and not how you want to help people, then it's just a matter of reframing. If, on the other hand, it's because you think you're supposed to want that thing, but you don't actually want it, and so the idea of pursuing it and all that you would have to do to get there is just horrifying to you, then yes, you've picked the wrong goal. Only you can answer that question. I have no idea which of the two is true. Just remember, don't chase something because people have told you that you should want it. Literally just look at what gives you more energy than it takes. When does confidence become harmful? How do you detect overconfidence that might stop you from striving to get better every day? Okay, so I don't think that confidence is ever dangerous. What I think is dangerous is a way of approaching the world. If you value yourself for being a master, if your confidence comes from, I know this stuff, then you're gonna be in trouble. Because I think that the reality is that being a master, feeling like you're an expert, that stuff is a trap. And you need to keep your beliefs nimble. So the more you learn, the more you need to be checking yourself to make sure that that stuff isn't calcifying into dogma, meaning that it becomes like, I do it this way, and that's the way I do it. That's the way I've always done it. That's what my success is based on, so I'm gonna keep doing it. That becomes incredibly dangerous, especially now in a world that changes and evolves so quickly. What worked yesterday may not keep working tomorrow. So you've got to constantly be willing to check your assumptions. And I think the easiest way to check your assumptions is to write them down. Writing them down is going to force you to have clarity on what your assumptions are. So that's really, really important. And I'm going through this right now in building the studio. I have a belief system about the way that things work. I have a belief system about the way that marketing works. And I'm constantly trying to check that. And so I found that there were some beliefs that were so embedded in me, I didn't even realize anymore that they were beliefs. And so there's that whole concept of David Foster Wallace, the guy that wrote the speech, This is Water. Look it up on YouTube right now, in fact. I don't even mind if you bail out of this right now to go watch it. It's that important to get this concept burned into your psyche. The fish is the last one to become aware of the water. It is so ubiquitous that they don't even realize it's a thing. That's what happens with your beliefs. You begin to believe them and internalize them so much that you forget at one point that that was something that you learned or discovered or chose to believe. And so at some point, that now may be holding you back. So I find writing them down so that I'm aware of what my assumptions are, I'm aware of what my beliefs are. Then I can go in and say, and this is straight from Tim Ferriss, if you haven't watched the episode of Impact Theory with Tim Ferriss, check it out. He talks about, what if you did the opposite? What if you did the opposite for 24 or 48 hours? It's very easy to overcome that and back out of it if it doesn't work. But for 24 or 48 hours, just try it. What if you had the opposite belief? What if you approach things in the opposite manner? Would you get a better result? And doing that and checking your beliefs and assumptions against that can be incredibly powerful. It will certainly open up new vistas, new possible avenues. I highly, highly recommend that. how you determine what your top tasks are for any given day. This is a great question already. I have many different to-do items and it's hard to know what to prioritize. Okay, so you've got to know what's my goal, where am I trying to get to? You're going to back into the daily tasks. Okay, so now if we know what we're looking at are daily tasks that are meant to feed into some longer term goal, what we're looking for are lead dominoes. So what are the things, like if I do this, then it will have a knock-on effect. So I'll give you an example. One lead domino for me is always to delegate. So I'm always starting my day by thinking, what can I delegate? Because once I delegate something, then it starts moving on. So on my list of important things, one of the sections is to delegate. So doing that, that is, it's a time multiplier. It's a force multiplier. So if I get that going, then now all of a sudden that project is running and it's essentially like I've just added man hours to my day. So I'm going to start with those things. I'm going to make sure that everybody's moving and doing the things that they want. The next thing is, what is a roadblock and impediment to something that's important in my world, generating revenue or building the community? Those are the two things that like I really think about. So if I do this thing, will it generate revenue or will it make the community bigger? So those are the two things that we have to do. Now, ultimately, the reason that I care deeply about revenue is the juice, man. It is the engine that is going to allow whatever you're doing to go on. So making sure that you're thinking about things that are actually going to generate revenue for you. And then for us, the community is, those are the people that we want to serve. They also give us a lot of power. So thinking about them, but ultimately we won't be able to serve them for very long if we're not able to get the revenue coming in that we want. And even if we have revenue coming in and we're profitable, every bit more revenue that we get because we're filtering it back into the company, then we're just able to serve more and more people. So I'm always looking at those two things. I am literally willing to do whatever it takes within my code of ethics to achieve my goals. So that's what I mean by break myself in half. I'm willing to work literally Monday through Friday. If I'm awake, I'm either working or working out. So to the point where I brush my teeth with my headphones on so that I can get the last little eeks of the day out. From the moment I wake up, I go immediately to the gym, I work out, and then I immediately do my morning routine, which I've gone through so many times, I won't waste my time with it now, but I go right into that immediately, and that carries me all the way through. So like today, I woke up at 4:15. So I wake up around that time every day, somewhere between, let's say 3 and 5. That's my typical wake up window. And I'm going to work out from that moment until I go to bed, and I go to bed at the same time every night, which is 9 p.m. So somewhere around about 8:45 is when I begin my nighttime ritual of brushing my teeth and all of that. But even then, I am listening to a book or something along those lines. So that is what I mean by break myself in half. And then on the weekends, by the way, on a lazy weekend, I probably work 5 to 7 hours a day. And then on a hardcore weekend, like last weekend, where I was working literally until midnight on a Saturday, I'll clock, say 13, 14 hours of work. That's on a weekend. So that's what I mean by break myself in half. Now, the whole point is that I'm building something that I believe in. I'm building something that gives me a deep sense of fulfillment. I believe that not only am I empowering myself and making myself stronger and more capable of the things that I want to do and the things that give me joy and give me more energy than they take, but that I am doing something that serves a lot of people, that goes way beyond me. And the not so secret thing, I love the puzzle of seeing if I can figure out something that other people can't figure out. That is a deeply enjoyable pastime of trying to improve myself, to learn enough, to think of the problem in a new enough way, to challenge my own assumptions, to do all of that, to be able to see a problem in a way that nobody else can, to see a solution that nobody else can see. I love doing that. So all of this energy and effort, it is in things that give me more energy than they take. So it's just a pleasurable existence. And I don't want to hear people, I don't want people to hear in what I say that I'm just like grinding it out. I tried that. I did that for 6.5 years and it was a total misery. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying work that hard in service of something that you believe in, that makes you feel alive, that you love doing. If you do that, then breaking yourself in half, that just becomes a metaphor for the amount of energy that you're willing to put into the things that you believe in. As Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. That's some of the best advice you're ever going to hear. At the end of the day, you should always be trying to change the things that you have the ability to change. There are inevitably going to be things that you can't change, but you're never
helpless. You're never a victim. In that moment, you still have the unbelievable ability to choose to look at it in a new way, to choose to reframe it. And in that reframing, you change everything. You don't just change your own neurochemistry. You're not just changing the way that you feel. You're actually changing the way that you're going to approach the problem. Something that was moments before, something that seemed impossible, something that was breaking your will to continue to fight, with a change in attitude becomes something completely different. And as Hans Selye said, adopting the right attitude can turn a negative stress into a positive one. And that game of mental jujitsu is what it's about. That game of flipping something on its head, of turning something around, of seeing it in a new way so that you can act in a new way, is how you make forward progress. And understanding that, understanding the need to take control of your perceptions, understanding that, understanding your need to change your perspective, that's how you begin to get ahead. Once you understand that your perspective is a choice, it is not objective truth. Burn that into your mind. It is not objective truth. The world that you see around you is simply the perspective through which you see it. All of life is a funhouse mirror. And when you acknowledge that, when you understand that you're looking at a distorted view of the way the world is, you realize that you can adopt a different distortion. You can adopt a distortion that allows you to see things more clearly, that allow you to see things in a way that empower you. And that should always be the first step, is figuring out not what is, not what you can change, but instead understanding what you need to change it to. And understanding that that change comes from inside you. It isn't a manifestation that you have to make in the outside world first. It's a change you have to make inside yourself. It is a shift of perspective. It is simply stepping to the side of what you're used to and how you're used to seeing things, and understanding that in reframing things, you take that negative and turn it into something that builds you up. But you've got to choose. You've got to decide. You've got to believe that you can do it. But once you believe that you can see things in any way that you need to reach your goals, your life will change forever, because you'll actually reach your goals.
What do you recommend for a person who isn't fulfilled in their position to make sure that they don't get caught in a loop of negativity while searching for something else? All right, this is all about mental management. I read like not too long ago, oh, I really want to remember who this is. I'm doing them a disservice, because this really impacted me. And it was that when they wake up in the morning, one of the things that they do, and I think we may have already aired the episode of the person that said this, so hopefully one of you guys can chime in and remind me who said this. But they were saying that they'll set their emotional intention, like the thing that they want to feel, by like putting on a song, by literally saying, okay, that's what they said. Now I'm saying what I found going along with like picking a song or setting something like that I literally just remind myself, feel good, be upbeat. I know how dumb that sounds, but it literally works. Like some part of you inside at a biological level knows the mechanisms, knows the neurochemistry to pump, so you don't have to like think about what neurotransmitters you want to pump. You literally just remind yourself, feel good, feel good. And I find it always changes my posture. So I'm going to do something with my body. So for those that are listening and not watching, I'm going to sit up taller. I'm going to put my shoulders back. I'm going to smile a little. Even if I'm all by myself, I put what I call a hint of a smile on my face. And in doing that, it is so weird how those physical hooks actually start to change your neurochemistry. And then if I really need to or want to, just for fun, to have that energy, I will put on a song that really gets me in a fun place. If that song, which normally works, isn't working that day, I will skip and find another one. But in just reminding yourself to feel that way, in making the demand of yourself from a playful, fun place that I can literally right now in this moment choose to exist in a state of happiness, of going through gratitude, all of those things will work to prime your mind to feel that stuff.
If you want even more motivation from Tom Bilyeu, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
The times where you fatigue, they're not the times you're working the hardest. The times you fatigue are when you're being least yourself. You're not being true to who you are.